Hey, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show. Thanks for tuning in to the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM. If you're interested in sponsoring my show, you can send me an email to the Mike Wagner Show at gmail.com, or you could also donate to the podcast. Just go to the Donate Listen site, and you can also donate whatever you like. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. For those who are interested, Anchor can give you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. We've got creation tools, allows you to record and edit podcasts so it sounds great, and they'll distribute the podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere. Spotify, Apple, Google, many more. And you can make money from the podcast with no minimum listenership. So download the Anchor app for free or go to Anchor FM to get started.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show brings you famous celebrities and amazing people from all over the world. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Apple, Google Play, and YouTube channel on the Mike Wagner Show. And take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. We're here with a wonderful lady from Los Angeles, currently in Austin, Texas. She's the author of There Is No Manual for the Succeeding Life in Life, which is available on Amazon. Also producer of the Cinderella story, director of the Stand-Up, one of the first for Warner Brothers. Actually came out with a few Cinderellas, and she's got upcoming the new movie, which was just released, Next Level. And also she worked for Miramax, Paramount, Bonneville Worldwide, also won an award as well, too. So here to talk about all of this, ladies and gentlemen, live on a beautiful night in Austin, Texas. And of course, you know, I wish I was there, but I'm up in Bismarck, North Dakota. One day I could trade places. Ladies and gentlemen, the very talented Illysa Goodman. Illysa, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, Mike. It's nice to join you.
Oh, it's great. So you're the author of There's No Manual for This, Succeeding in Life, available on Amazon. You're also a producer of a Cinderella story and director of the Stand-Up for Warner Brothers. You've got a new movie coming out called Next Level, which has been released. We'll talk more about that. And, of course, you also worked for Miramax, Paramount, Bonneville Worldwide, and born and raised in New York City. I mean, you just had a great career just, rising to the top. We'll talk about that. But first, tell us how you got started.
How did I get started? I always was enamored with entertainment and film, especially when I was a kid. I always sort of pictured myself on a movie set being a director. And I don't even think I knew really what a director did, but that was the vision I had. And so when I got out of school, I found a job working for a local cable company, which was sort of my first way into, the media. And from there, I wound up moving to LA. I wound up working for Miramax Films. Then I wound up at Paramount and Universal Studios, and just kind of worked my way through the studio system, but working with films, with, scripts, from development, taking ideas, turning them into scripts, working with writers. When I was at Miramax, we worked in acquisitions where we bought films that other people already made. So I kind of got to see every angle of the industry. And I think I just managed to succeed by staying in it long enough.
Wow, that is amazing. And you just had a very interesting career. And what prompted you to just go into being off on your own as well, like say with your new movie Next Level, and also with I'd say you have like a very interesting Cinderella story.
What prompted me to go off on my own was frustration with the processes of the system. You know, when you make a movie with a studio or work for another company, you're sort of bound by the confines of their systems and processes. And that always frustrated me. And I'm the kind of person that will always find a different way in. I'm dyslexic, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but what I've learned in things that I've researched about dyslexia is you don't see things the way other people see them, so you find your own way in to process information. And so I think for me, that applies to how I work, is I don't necessarily work well within the systems and the confines of everyone else, so I find my own way.
Mm-hmm. And that's amazing too. And what are some of the challenges besides dyslexia you encounter working with the big studios? And also a thing that came to mind that have you worked with a lot of union or is it mainly non-union? So.
Well, I'm in the Directors Guild, so I work with the union that way. But I've kind of 50-50. When I made TV movies and smaller movies, a lot of that might have been non-union. But I found working in big studios a lot of fun. It comes with a lot of clout, a lot of cachet, and to me, a lot of movie magic, which is why I'm in this business. You know, when you first find yourself, I think I was about 21 years old and had a job on the, lot at Paramount. There was nothing more magical than to walk past all of these things, everything from the parking lot where they created the Red Sea from the Ten Commandments to the school where they shot the Brady Bunch high school scenes to Lucy and Ethel's, Lucille Ball's office. So to me, the magic of a studio is, you can't beat that. But at the same time, you're just one little piece of a much bigger plan.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that as well, too. And who are some of your favorite actors and actresses, and what movies did you watch growing up that shaped your career?
Well, my favorite movie of all time is an older movie called The Philadelphia Story with Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant, and Jimmy Stewart. And it was just the quintessential romantic comedy. And I watch it over and over. And every time I watch it, I still learn something. And I just think it's about comedic timing. It's about performance. For me, as someone who's creative, I love working with actors. So the actors I love today are really the comedians, and I like people like Cameron Diaz. She, to me, is somebody who can play dramatic and play comedy, still be beautiful, and just has it all as a performer. When it comes to favorite movies, I grew up sort of as a child in the late 80s, early 90s. So I loved all the John Hughes movies, the Breakfast Club movies. But to me, my all-time favorite would be Clueless. And I think the comedy that comes with that, just the beats, the timing, the performances, the jokes, the dialogue is so fresh and so crisp, and just that's what I love. Those are my favorites.
And I still remember the cell phone with the long antenna. That's what stood out to me about that movie. Those cell phones with a really long antenna. Hello.
Brick. Remember the brick?
Yes, I remember that. Oh my gosh. I think my parents had that. They gave it to me and I'm like, no, I want the Nokia with a really long antenna. And now you've got the smartphones, the Androids, the iPhones, and everything else. So it's like antennas are just about the thing of the past. It's like how fast and amazing we've grown.
Yeah, but funny story. When you do make movies, one of the things that you often try to do is avoid technology, because once you have technology in a movie, it dates it. So it's kind of funny because our movie Cinderella story, which was made about 15 years ago now, we had quite a bit of texting from a cell phone. But it wasn't a smartphone back then, but it was a cell phone. And although it's an archaic phone, the technology still holds up in that movie.
Mm-hmm. That was amazing too. And I think it was those Nokias where it's like, yeah, those classic ones. And I think they tried to come back with it for $500. And I said, heck, you can just pick one up on Amazon for cheap or just keep it around. So why bother paying $500 just for a throwback?
Yeah, remember the flip phone or the Razor?
Mm-hmm.
They were cool.
Oh, that was like the big thing. And how about the pager? Remember that? Ooh, I got the pager.
I'm happy to say I never had a pager.
Really amazing. It was just, I had to have that for my work, and everybody thinks, oh, that's the coolest thing. But to me, it was annoying as heck. Half time you don't hear it, half time doesn't vibrate, and just chews up a lot of batteries. So it's
I think there was synonymous with being a doctor, having a pager back then.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's amazing too. We'll talk about the standoff and your Cinderella stories. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. Check our Facebook page, Facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Apple, Google Play, and the YouTube channel on the Mike Wagner Show. And take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. We're here with Illysa Goodman, who has a book called There Is No Manual for This, Succeeding in Life Despite Feeling Inadequate, available on Amazon. She also is also a producer and director of Cinderella Story, The Standoff for Warner Brothers, and worked for Miramax, Paramount, Bonneville Worldwide, and has a new movie coming out, Next Level, which was just released. But first of all, let's talk about your first movie, The Standoff for Warner Brothers, and tell us all about it.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to make a little correction. The Standoff was by Sony.
Sony, I'm sorry.
Cinderella
Okay.
Story was Warner Brothers.
Got it. Okay. It's like, don't always believe what the internet says. So I'm glad you brought that up. Oh, shame on you, internet. Shame on you.
I had, worked my way up through the ranks as an executive for many years in Hollywood, and then decided it was time to go off on my own. And Cinderella Story was the first feature film that I was lucky enough to get produced. It was a collaboration between myself, a writer, and some other producers. And in 5 short years, it became an overnight success, where we were shopping the script, we were working on it, we were doing a lot of things, but it took 5 years to get made. After that, I kind of wanted to be much more independent. I didn't want to really deal with the studios as much, so I started to kind of go off on my own, made a couple of small independent movies, and then I collaborate with a writer named Lee Dunlap, who wrote a Cinderella Story as well, and we came up with an idea for a movie that we could do that would be a fairly low budget because it was going to be containable, and that was a movie called The Standoff, and it's containable because it all takes place in a car lot where a bunch of teenagers are trying to win a car by keeping their hand on the car. It's an endurance contest. Whoever can keep their hand on the car the longest wins. So we did it, and we raised some money for it. And I said, you know what? I don't want to just be a producer anymore. Now I want to direct. I called dibs, and nobody stopped me. So I got to produce and direct that movie, and it was probably the greatest experience of my life. When I was on set, people said to me, how did you prepare for this? And I said, everything I've done in my life prepared me for this. I also had 4-month-old twins at home while I was doing it. So when somebody says that, Ginger Rogers does what Fred Astaire does on the dance floor in heels and backwards, I think that is what it felt like for me. And so I directed that movie. I felt like it was my greatest personal fulfilling moment. And then I pursued being a director from there on, and directed a film called Next Level, which I directed last summer, which actually we had a premiere for last night. And that was very exciting. It's a teen dance movie because I wanted to challenge myself and do something I've never done before. And we used, what made this movie interesting actually, was we used a lot of internet influencer social media stars. And so that was kind of fun. And that, like I said, premiered last night. That's opening in about 10 cities, I believe, on the 6th, which is tomorrow. So it opens in 10 cities throughout the country. I know it's Boston, Toronto, Los Angeles, New York. and a couple of other places. And so that's kind of exciting. And at the same time, I have a book coming out. I hope I'm answering your question. I know I'm kind of answering a lot of questions.
No, you're good, actually. I wasn't sure if I'm hearing it, too. So I don't know if we have a little audio as well, too. So can you hear me now, though?
I can, yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so go ahead and continue.
So about, one of the things that I find is that I love the entertainment industry. So whether I'm producing, whether I'm directing, whether I'm working in distribution, which I do from time to time, I just couldn't be happier. And then I challenged myself with writing a book recently. About a year ago, I was on a phone call with a publisher because often as a producer and director, I'm always looking for new material to base my movies on. So I was looking at some books from this publishing company, and I started chatting with the publisher, and I was telling her stories about myself and my life and what was going on, how I became a parent older, and started telling her funny stories about what it's like to be aging in Los Angeles in the first place, being an aging parent of toddlers, still trying to maintain my career in entertainment, and having all sorts of craziness going on at my home. And the publisher said, "That's a book." I said, "Well, I don't write books." And she said, "Well, why don't we get you a co-writer?" So I interviewed a number of women and found a woman by the name of Sandy Hine who had my sarcasm because I don't take anything in life seriously. And she had my humor, my sarcasm, and decided to collaborate with her. And we talked about me and my life to try and sort of pinpoint how we should focus the book. And we came to the conclusion that it's called There Is No Manual for This, Succeeding in Life While Always Feeling Inadequate. It's a mouthful of a title, but I think it's appropriate. And what it sort of is it's taking, we all feel inadequate. Everybody, you talk about like imposter syndrome and all of that. I think every one of us as a human being today feels inadequate in some way, shape, or form, but we hide it very well. And I think that if you see people who seem incredibly confident, chances are they're just hiding it even better than we think. And taking that philosophy and mixing it with, when you open up a new bottle of shampoo, there's instructions. You go to IKEA to buy furniture, you get instructions and tools. You have to have a license to be a bartender. Everything in our life comes with training, except life. And it's navigating being a parent, being a daughter-in-law, being a director, being a human being who messes up, being a human being who succeeds, and just sort of navigating life without instructions.
That is amazing. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. And I guess you have to say, taking care of 4-month-old twins, you're directing and everything. I guess the question is, how do you manage to do it? And I guess the word is like time management, maybe just something you could probably just give us a few specifics on. That's what it sounds like. It's just amazing time management.
I don't have an answer for that other than I'm always tired. And, I love what I do so much that it's the passion that carries me through. I think whether I'm on the treadmill, that's where I do my best thinking, in the shower, in the treadmill. So I might be working on a script and I have an idea that I can't crack. And somehow I'll be on the treadmill and then I'll be like, wait a minute, that's what I need to do. And like I have the best business meetings in my head when I'm multitasking. So I think that that's kind of just how my brain works, and my personality is just constantly multitasking.
My goodness, that's just amazing. We'll talk about your movie Next Level in a minute. Also, winning an award back in 1988. We'll talk about that. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. Check our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, also Radio Public, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google, Apple Store, and also take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on YouTube as well. We're here with Illysa Goodman, the author of There Is No Manual for This, Succeeding in Life Despite Feeling Inadequate, available on Amazon. And she also worked for Miramax, Paramount, Bonneville Worldwide, born and raised in New York City. And she was also director of The Standoff, producer of A Cinderella Story. And let's talk about Next Level as well, too, which has been released. And, just the movie, it's out in 10 cities as well, too. Any chance on having to go to video or streaming on any services or any of that in the works?
Yeah, it is actually going to be on iTunes and Amazon and on demand on your cable carriers.
Okay, that's great. And also, too, you talked about some other movies as well, too. What are some of the upcoming projects you got in the works?
Well, I've got a couple projects that are in script development form. I've got a movie that's called Playdate, which is a script I wrote myself that is about that's sort of finding the comedy in parenthood in Los Angeles. I kind of call it Bad Moms meets Parenthood meets Mean Girls. And it's just sort of navigating, kids' parenthood, getting your kids into the right preschool. They say that everything in your children's life starts when they're super young. So if you get them into the right preschool, they'll get into the right elementary school, the right middle school, high school, and hopefully you'll find them in the Ivy League, and that'll be that. So it's a very comedic look at the lengths parents go to get their kids into the right school.
It almost sounds like that movie, The Standoff, with the endurance contest. Is like, how long can you endure just by having your hands on that car?
I think parenthood, and anyone who is a parent knows that you're in. They say it's a marathon, not a sprint.
And I think that's a good lesson learned. That was like a contest. I was like, what, way back, but nowadays it's like, can I really hold that long just for a car? I guess that's a question.
Well, mine was about a bunch of teenagers trying to win their first car. So it was about the shenanigans that took place on the car lot. And by the way, I shameless plug for that movie. It's on Amazon Prime now. Please watch it. It's hilarious. And I'm super proud of it. And all of the actors, we had Olivia Holt, who's on a show called Cloak and Dagger now on the CW, Alex Wolff, who's in Jumanji, a guy named Ryan McCartan, who is on Broadway in Wicked. And just everybody from that movie is somewhere, they've all elevated into a great place. So I'm really proud of the cast.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like, too, that's a good starting point for actors to get their ground, went on to bigger and better things. And since you did a shameless plug and keep shameless plugging everything, that's what the show is all about. Everything's on you. Just plug all you want. I'm not putting any restrictions on you. And, of course, the Cinderella Story, just tell everybody where can they watch it? All the Cinderella movies you made.
Cinderella, we did the first Cinderella story about 15 years ago starring Hilary Duff, and it's turned into a big franchise for Warner Brothers. The fifth in the sequel is actually coming out in October. It is called A Cinderella Story Christmas Wish. So we're doing a holiday movie now with it. So that's the fifth in that franchise, which is kind of exciting to, start with the germ of an idea that 15 years later has spawned 5 movies. There have been musicals, song, dance versions of it. And it just, for me, as I said, my favorite movies are like the John Hughes movies, Clueless, 16 Candles. I think that I have a wonderful life and I cannot complain about a thing, but I fondly reflect on my youth and growing up in, the 80s and early 90s. And those movies that speak to teenagers, especially teenage girls, to me are really important because, although the Cinderella fairy tale is about, being rescued by a prince, the Cinderella movies are not that. They're about empowerment. And I think that when I was a teenager, I didn't really feel as empowered as I wish that I might have been. And so through a lot of the movies that I make or the things I write, they're really about girls feeling empowered.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important as well, too, with today's teenagers as well, too. And you also won an award, too, back in 1998, the Crystal Heart Award with Summer of the Monkeys. You can just tell us about that.
Well, when I was at a company called Bonneville Worldwide Entertainment, I was very fortunate. I had a boss. I was a young executive at the time, and I had a boss that really mentored me so well and gave me a lot of free reign and gave me a division to run where I could just go make movies. And one of the movies that we made was called Summer of the Monkeys. It was a kids' family movie that was based on a classic book called Summer of the Monkeys. The writer's name is Wilson Rawls, and he wrote a book called Where the Red Fern Grows, which was a popular movie adaptation. And so we got to do Summer of the Monkeys. So I got to work with 5 monkeys. So that was kind of a blast. And it was a beautiful film. It turned out so wonderfully. We made it for a very tiny budget independently. And I started showing it to some of the studios and showing it around, and Disney bought it. So
Nice.
It's exciting already that one of the first movies that I kind of, oversaw on every level got picked up by Disney. So super fun. Loved that. And we won an award called the Crystal Heart Award, which is part of the Heartland Film Festival. And that takes place in Indiana once a year. And it really is a wonderful festival where local philanthropists come out and celebrate artists. And they give you money when you win, which is lovely, which enables a lot of struggling artists to go and make more movies. Now, because my movie was made by a fairly, fairly deep-pocketed production company, we didn't want to accept the money. So we threw it back out there and used it for distribution for the movie and got it in some theaters and, had it out through Disney. And it was just such a wonderful experience because I met so many terrific people and really realized that, there's a film community out there that's just filled with talented young artists who are just looking to break out and need a break.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of your favorite film festivals as well, too, like the Sundance Fest, L.A., New York, and what do you consider your most favorite and the most competitive?
Well, I think the most competitive is probably Sundance and Cannes. My very favorite is Cannes Film Festival. I have had the good fortune to have attended a number of times. And I love that festival, not just because it takes place on the beach in the south of France, but it is really where you see people find passion for their art. And there are fans that come in droves, and there are all of these young European kids, Italian kids, French kids, and they dress up. And the girls are all dressed up, and the boys are wearing those Italian tight suits with the skinny ties, and they're trying to get into the premieres. And when you walk out of a screening, they're all holding up signs with the names of the films that they want to go to. I get emotional talking about it because it's, the film industry is not nearly as glamorous as people on the outside think. I think everyone really knows that. It's a lot of hard work. When I'm on my own movie set as a director and producer, I am, emptying garbages when I see they need it. It's just, it's a lot of work. And when you go to the Cannes Film Festival, you just see these kids and the fans that are so passionate that it makes everything we do feel glamorous. And it's that one time where you can, really just own what you do. So Cannes is my favorite. I also like Toronto. I think that's a great festival. I like the festivals that are open to filmmakers who are sort of willing and able to take risks. And then there's some smaller film festivals that I really appreciate too. There's something called the Femme Film Festival that I get involved with. One of my colleagues is involved with that, so I speak on some panels for her every year. And I think some of the smaller festivals are really good because they provide an outlet for really lower budget independent filmmakers to get out there and showcase their stuff, where, Cannes and Sundance and Toronto, they're really for the known filmmakers. But the smaller, festivals are really for grassroots indies. And I think they're really important to have.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say your favorite independent film is?
My favorite independent film. I don't know if I have an answer for that, because every year I find something, different that comes out. I loved Hidden Figures. I thought that was a really well told story. And I probably have more that I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head. But I thought that Hidden Figures was terrific. And overall, that was, a lot of independent films wind up getting picked up by studios, but people don't realize that they started independently.
Mm-hmm. And also too that I'm sure you've been given scripts over the years and everything. What is like the most unusual plot that you have ever encountered?
Oh, wow. The most unusual plot I ever encountered, and I say this with humor, is that many, many years ago, somebody submitted something to me that was about somebody was murdered and was reincarnated as a horse and came back to solve, and had to come back as a horse to solve their own murder. And I remember,
oh my gosh,
that was probably, and I never read the script, but I remember thinking, oh, that is one of the craziest things I've ever heard.
Mr. Ed back from the dead.
Yeah, but I think that I think that storylines are incredibly derivative, and every now, there's like one formula for a romantic comedy, and then we do different takes on them all the time. So I think that is, I love watching people come up with new ways to tell sort of same old stories. But I will say that I'm working with a writer right now, and she has a script. I'm not involved in this one, but I wish I was. That's basically about a woman who finds a time machine in a nail salon and goes back and relives the same first date over and over and over again to try to get it right. And I think that that's really clever. I haven't seen that. It's got a little Groundhog Day in it, but it's really funny and, really clever and unique. And we haven't seen that. So she goes and has the date, and then she screws it up. She goes back to the nail salon, to the time machine, so she could do it over and over to make it the perfect date.
Oh my goodness. I think that sounds almost like not just Groundhog Days. What was it? 50 Dates in 50 Days with Adam Sandler. And I'm trying to think of the co-star. Was it Drew Barrymore or something? It's like, yes, that's it. It's kind of like a cross between it, and it's just amazing too, and funny in the same way too, with time machines and trying to remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's clever. So I'll say that. I have a script that I wrote that I think is genius. That is called Fresh Meat, and it's sort of a takeoff. As I told you, my favorite movie is Clueless, which is derivative of Emma, the Jane Austen classic. And I wrote a script that is about a group of high school girls that have a sleepover party and a seance that goes awry, and they inadvertently bring back the zombie body of a girl who died in the home they live in the 1930s. And wow. They give the zombie a makeover and turn her into the most popular girl in school. And that's a comedy, and there's a musical element to it too. I love having music in all of my movies. I think that music is an incredible equalizer, that no matter who you are, young, old, black, white, male, female, you hear music and you can't help but move. Mm-hmm. So I love to have music in every movie I make.
Well, speaking of music, what are your favorite soundtracks?
Well, one would be the Cinderella story soundtrack, and I have a gold record for it.
Oh, yes, that's right. Okay. Yeah, again, shameless plug. I totally forgot about it. It's okay. But, other soundtracks besides with your works.
I like the soundtrack. I was recently playing the movie, I think, Guardians of the Galaxy for my kids.
Oh, that's a great one.
That has a great soundtrack. It's all 80s inspired. Mm-hmm. And I love the 80s in general. As I've mentioned, another movie that I have in development is about a girl who is a struggling songwriter performer who gets a job in an 80s themed bar on Sunset Strip. And she winds up joining forces with the house band there. That was a one-hit wonder band from the 80s. And she brings them back into focus, and she winds up finding a career through them as well. And that's super fun. And our soundtrack on that movie is going to be all great 80s songs that we have. We've been working with Flock of Seagulls. We're talking to people from Flock of Seagulls and a band called When in Rome and all of these great 80s bands about using their songs. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's what makes me, tap my toes.
Flashback like MTV in the early days. It made me think of it when you mentioned them. It's like, I could probably throw some out there too. Human League, The Knack, and oh my goodness.
I love Knack, yeah. Uh-huh.
And what was that song? Turning Japanese, The Vapors. It's like, to me, that's the ultimate 80s song. How you like that?
That's a great one. Yeah, I mean, that's when I was, in high school then. And so maybe it's personal, but it was a time in my life that I loved. That carefree time before you realize you feel inadequate. And so I like to entertain through that.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you turn Japanese, because you feel inadequate.
I really think so.
I really think so. No, you timed it so well. I know you talked about the 80s a great deal, and I was going to ask you another question too. If you were to go back in time, and if you need to feel, say, the 80s, that's fine too, like in terms of your career or anything else, what era would you want to go back to?
Oh, I would go back to Hollywood in the 1930s.
Nice.
30s, 40s, 50s. Old Hollywood, when it was glamorous or appeared that way.
Mm-hmm. And of course, working with like Audrey Hepburn and Jimmy Stewart and of course Abbott Costello and Charlie Chaplin and all that. And of course, also run by the bigwigs. You had MGM, Warner Brothers, Paramount, Columbia, and that was like the really big four. United Artists was kind of like in a bottom feeder in a sense, being independent. Well,
yeah, they came in, I'm sure the history of United Artists was Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and Charlie Chaplin started it because they were tired of being taken advantage by the studio system. And so it was really probably one of the very first independent production companies, studios.
Mm-hmm. And that's amazing too, of course, 20th Century Fox and everything like that. We'll talk about that another time. Love to have you back on. And of course, just a couple of things. I know you gave me a lot of challenging projects. What do you consider your most favorite and the most challenging?
That I've already made or that I'm going to make?
You can do both either way. It's your call.
I would say my favorite and most challenging was The Standoff, because it was something that was 100% me. I got to produce it. And there was a writer, Lee Dunlap, and I don't want to take away from her because she wrote the script and did a great job and co-produced it as well. But I had such a stamp on it that it was so wonderful that everything from it was the first movie I ever directed. I felt like I knocked it out of the park, which I think was 50% skill, 50% luck, and 100% teamwork. And to me, though, my voice was so in that movie. And so that's my favorite.
That is amazing. What do you consider most memorable moment?
You're going to laugh if I tell you. But
go ahead. It's okay.
One day, on movie sets, they have the bathrooms are basically like parts of, they're in trailers, mobile home bathrooms. And I was coming out of a bathroom trailer, motorhome bathroom, and I looked out around the entire set and I could see everybody doing their job. Everything was happening. And I thought, they're all here because of me. If I didn't exist, this wouldn't exist. And people are creating art. People are working. People are bringing home paychecks. People are doing what they love because of something that a trigger I pulled. And that made me feel incredibly powerful and humble at the same time. But I was coming out of a bathroom.
Uh-huh.
So that was fun.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't get that part as well, too. You might have cut out. You're cutting out of the bathroom and then.
Oh, you didn't catch any of it? Okay.
Well, actually, if for some reason it cut out your end, but go ahead.
I was literally coming out of a bathroom on the movie set of The Standoff. And, you know, the bathrooms are in trailers. They're like mobile home porta potties, basically. And I came out and it was elevated. So I was about 4 steps up. And I looked out over the entire expansive set. And everybody out there was creating art. The actors were rehearsing. The set decorators were decorating. Everybody was doing their job. And I thought, they're all here because of me. If I didn't exist, this wouldn't exist. Mm-hmm. And it was an incredibly humbling and powerful experience at the same time. I felt incredibly responsible to everybody on that set to turn out something amazing. And I just felt amazing at that moment, is all I can say. Coming out of the bathroom.
That is amazing from the bathroom. I love it. And it's very unique too. I like that part. So yeah, of course, we overcome all challenges, and this is great. Just want to thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. And most importantly, who's the biggest influence in your career?
The biggest influence in my career, I'm going to say I don't know if I've met them yet. There have been many along the way. I think that, to be honest with you, I'm a product of everything and everyone I've ever met. And I will say there's actually a special thanks in my book. There is no manual for this. And I thank everyone I've ever met, good and bad, and everyone I will ever meet, because I am a product of all of them. Every experience and every human being, large and small, makes me who I am.
That is amazing and fantastic. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Never give up. If you believe, don't give up.
Well said, Illysa. Well said. Just wanted to say a big thank you for your time being on the program, Illysa, author of There Is No Manual for This, Succeeding Life Despite Feeling Inadequate, available on Amazon. You can also, catch some of the movies. And before we let you go, we know you're very busy and you probably have all kinds of ideas just dancing in your head, and maybe like several scripts at once. You can just tell us more about it later. We'd love to have you back on. Sure. Tell us about your upcoming projects, your website. How do people contact you? And once again, where can people watch your movies and where can they purchase the book?
Mm-hmm. Well, they can get the book. The book is also available on audiobook, which I'm very proud of. Apparently only 2 books from my publisher got picked up for an audiobook, so that's exciting. So that is on Amazon and I believe in Target. They can catch my movie The Standoff on Amazon Prime. It was on Netflix, but it's off now, on iTunes. And you can see Next Level will be coming out on iTunes and Amazon and DirecTV, I believe, soon. And enjoy.
All right, we will do that. And Illysa, just want to say a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic and love to have you on again soon. And please do us a favor, keep us up to date.
I will do, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. Also, become a sponsor of the program or donate today at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of The Mike Wagner Show.